Keeping it football, we're going to shift to college. The Jim Harbaugh situation made the rounds in local media yesterday. Even the Detroit News wrote a critical piece about Jim Harbaugh, which I was stunned. By, Flannel.
I mean, they only write critical stuff about MSU, right? Every time they sneeze, according to MSU folk.
I'm not here to comment on that. I'm just here to say they never write anything negative about Harbaugh.
I mean, he got suspended, so
yeah,
it is what it is.
Which I don't care about. If anything, because I know what some of the talking heads in the town did. They went back to the Mozzie Smith thing, which I said I didn't care about back then even. All that does is further entrench to me, this is why it's turned for Michigan. Because they're off of that morality chase. They're off of that Michigan men, we're on moral high ground, higher moral ground than you, all that stuff. Don't care. Win games. They're going down that SE. Are you cool with that, Flannel?
Yeah, I'm cool because, I mean, look at the last couple of years. You mentioned it. There's no denying that Michigan has taken a substantial leap, at least when it comes to the Big Ten. Finally winning Big Tens, finally beating Ohio State back-to-back years, getting to the college football playoff. Of course, last season losing in terrible fashion to TCU, but they're at least in the conversation every year, and the Big Ten for now runs through Ann Arbor. And I would ask if anybody is not cool with it. I mean, I was there for the Rich Rod years. I was there for the Brady Hoke years. I was there for the first 6 years of Jim Harbaugh, where it seemed like there was a finite ceiling of, hey, they could maybe have a good regular season, but they would definitely lose to Ohio State. And hell, when it came to Brady Hoke and Rich Rod 3 times, they had losing seasons where they didn't even make bowl games. So if you like winning, you should just be okay with him serving this 4-game suspension, Michigan winning all those games by 30 points, and moving on.
No, and that's where it is with me, D-Mac. And we discussed this yesterday, and you said you were in lockstep with me that you're going to have to swim in those kinds of waters if you want to swim in those kinds of waters.
I think it's cool.
I do too, low-key.
You finally, did something, you know what I mean? Woo, you crossed the road outside the crosswalk. You jaywalked a little bit. And, at the end of the day, I don't get it. Because of the sandwiches and all this other stuff. But the NCAA wasn't going to let it go, right? So if they're going to make you like the villain, then why don't you start acting a little bit like it and swimming in those waters? This is so stupid in like semantics of the letter of what we're really talking about, a sandwich and stuff here, right? But at the end of the day, no, if you going to get treated like that or you want to act like that, then embrace it. That's what I'm saying. Then embrace it, because if you embrace it, then it tells me that we can at least compete. And then maybe you got my attention a little more, that maybe we are going to do some things that'll get us over the edge that other teams do. Right? Because that's what we're talking about, right? Winning, right, Neil?
Yeah. Well, hey, I asked for this low key. I asked internally. I said somebody's going to give this to me, and they did. Cody Engel says this Harbaugh thing is a lot like the JMO thing. Is it a dumb rule? Yes. But were rules broken? Also yes. If there wasn't any merit, why negotiate it to 4 games? So that way, Cody, let me explain how this stuff works to everybody. The NCAA, with the coaches, with the programs, with the universities, all this kind of stuff, everything's open for negotiation. What does the NCAA want in all this? They want a perceived victory. That's it. The suspension doesn't really matter. They don't play anybody till November. You could suspend them till November, and it doesn't matter. And again, I'm not being critical. I would do that too if I were the coach and I had control over my schedule, which every college football team does. They control their schedule outside of conference. I would do the same thing, because there's no point. There's no reward. There's no reward for you playing a tough schedule. It's no different than if you play an easy schedule and win. You get your wins and you move on. We're fascinated with the undefeated team. We're fascinated with it. That's all it takes. So, again, I just want to put that out there so I don't get that hate. For me, it's just, it doesn't matter to me because that, bless you, Spenny, because that's what your competition is doing. This is like Barry Bonds is my favorite baseball player of all time, because he's the greatest baseball player ever. Until Shohei came along. He was the greatest baseball player ever. Defensively, offensively, power, speed, 500 steals, 500 home runs.
Spenny, could you fit into a Barry Bonds hat? You probably.
Probably,
You
yeah.
and Barry
Yeah.
Bonds' hat is probably the same. For anybody out there, Spenny, you got an 8.5?
Yep.
Yeah, but when you boil it all down, there was a definitive line in his career where he got bigger. Guess what? He was a Hall of Famer before that. 500 home runs, 500 stolen bases, man. Only one other person in the history of the game is even 300, and that was his dad, by the way. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's great. All he did was do what everybody else was doing. And does that make it okay to break the rules? You know what? Answer 14, because you have this in here right now. So, Neil, you're saying because they broke the rules, this is some form of a breakthrough? Hard sell. Dismissing the rules is okay if you win, not cool. Those are the stakes, answer 14. This is the way you win in this. How many more examples do you need? Look at Georgia. Georgia's a goddamn circus, what's going on down there. But guess what else? Back-to-back national champions that nobody can touch. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not telling you it's right. I'm telling you that's the way it works. You got to divorce the emotion of it all. This is the way it works. If you want to win. Okay, so I'll answer 14. I don't know if you're a Michigan fan. Should they have suspended Mozzie Smith for the rest of the year for going 300 miles an hour in a 25 zone with a loaded gun in the car? Should they? I don't know, but they didn't. That's not my problem. I'm not the police. So he went from being pulled over, got on the plane, and went and played the game. And guess what? If I were the coach, guess what I would have done? We were going for a national championship. I would have played him too. I'm being honest about it. You need to be honest about it. You want to get caught up in
Yeah, or
this?
else you get suspended like Jim Harbaugh for not being honest.
Right.
Right.
You see what I'm saying here?
Let's go.
And what was the punishment really? What was the punishment really?
Slap on the wrist.
A slap on the wrist. It was nothing. Was the juice worth the squeeze?
Yes.
By the way, did they get that recruit that he bought the cheeseburger for? Do we know that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know the answer to that. But whatever. And I guess when you boil it all down, like the people want to say, it wasn't a cheeseburger, Neil, it was the lie. Okay. He got caught. He got suspended 4 games against Bowling Green, UNLV, Eastern Carolina, and Rutgers.
Doesn't Eastern Carolina run the triple option sweep left 9?
No, they had a pretty good they were decent last year. Like they had a pretty good quarterback, but those guys are
about
gone.
that
now.
game, Sam?
No.
Not at all.
No, we shouldn't be.
They
Like,
should win all those games by 20-plus points.
absolutely, and they will. And it doesn't matter. And that's why, if it were me and I were a Michigan fan, I do not care that he got suspended for 4 games. And Flannel, mark me on this to answer 14's question. Do they seem to be being rewarded for being a little moral, questionably? Do they seem to be being rewarded?
Yes.
The outcomes suggest they are.
Yeah. Like I said before, the last 2 years have been different as opposed to the previous, 25 around that time since about 1997. So yeah, this is at this point that Michigan, they're going to win the first 4 games. You could have Coach Spencer Raxter or Coach Neil Rule out there, or Coach Flannel Sam, and they would still win those games by 30-plus points. And here's the thing, too, and
My Powder Puff teams were cold.
hey, like I said, I mean, you could definitely get a 35-point win when they play UNLV, no doubt about it. But here's the thing that I actually mentioned on the morning show earlier, which I heard brought up by a couple of people. Even if Jim Harbaugh deserved to be suspended, even if he did do wrong things, which I'm sure he did, I don't really care, he is going to feel like he was wronged by the NCAA and coach with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Martyr.
I mean, that's the thing, whether it's right or wrong, and I sometimes find like the martyr stance a little bit nauseating at times, but Jim Harbaugh can use that to his advantage. Come back in Game 5 and just coach pissed off for the rest of the season. If you're Jim Harbaugh, look at it as we'll get the last laugh when we win the Natty, and we can give the proverbial middle finger when we do it. And I think Jim Harbaugh's got that type of chip on his shoulder.
You bring up a great point, right? Is this a different angle of coaching or whatever, us against them, or the NCAA, where he can go to his team?
It would be if it were my team.
But what I'm saying is that this plays right into his hand, how you're going to use this as a positive, how that, the disrespect or saying whatever else. Where at the end of the day, you do the crime, you do the time, whether we think it's
And we
how
move on, and we
white
keep it
collar it
pushing.
is, and this is like a misdemeanor. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But how does Jim Harbaugh, and if he is such a great coach, you guys are sitting here telling me that he's the best coach to never win a championship. right? You told me that.
Yeah.
So this is because he hasn't used. Has he used this in the locker room as motivation, sort of us against them, where the NCAA and stuff like? Do you get where I'm going here? This could be brilliant, right? And also the fact that the veterans that he has, and I just look to Corum and Edwards, right, in the backfield, right, to whatever, to establish himself. Without the coach there on game days, the first 4 games, you're gonna have to take some leadership as your seniors and your guys in the locker room. That it will build more to it's their team. So I think that this, if you're looking for an angle on it, this can benefit them if they use it to their advantage, as Sam says, as not only a chip on the shoulder for the coach, but for the whole team.
WoodwardSports.com chat thread, answer 14 says, you can't say a rule infraction is okay because we win. I'm honestly in disagreement. Flannel.
I mean,
Would you take a rule infraction for a national title?
yes, 100%. I would give anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Remember we did this question before?
Yeah.
I brought this to you guys. Would you take a non-fatal gunshot to the leg for a national championship? Spenmo,
Yes.
you said yes.
In a heartbeat.
Right now, right here,
Yes.
right here in the
He's
studio.
reaching for a gun.
Yeah.
He's
Mozzie Smith might be able to help
Yeah,
you out
I
there.
would-
But, what? It happened.
Oh.
That's fair. That was fair.
Don't be mad at me.
I know.
I didn't get pulled over with the loaded handgun.
I mean, he can deliver that non-fatal gunshot to me because I would take that trade in a heartbeat as well for a national championship, 100%.
So I answer 14 with all due respect. You sound like you stand on your morals, and that's admirable. It is, but you're not competing in a field that has morals around you.
It's fair.
So you can't expect the same
Can't
results.
beat them, join them.
Yeah, you can't expect the same results if you're not playing by the same rules or lack thereof. You can't. Are you gonna keep sending a mouse into the snake pit, or are you gonna send your own snake?
That's a bar.
I stole it from a movie.
It's a good one, though.